I know there's just a Zax in the background messing with something.
You need me to move?
No, but it's just funny. Today we're answering the age-old question of Big Chungus Tower Cooler versus Big Chungus AIO. And it's been answered quite a few times before, but we wanted to kind of answer it for ourselves and for our buddy Jeff, aka Droidanoid. And recently he was going to upgrade from a 9600K to a 9900K, and he was asking us, what do I get? Do I get an AIO or do I get a Big Chungus Tower Cooler? And we just were like, take the Assassin 3. But we wanted to make a video to kind of back up our claim here and, you know, answer the question in our head, did we just give him bad advice? But we're sure we didn't give him bad advice, but we'll find that out. So in the corner of the Big Chungus Tower Cooler, we have the Deep Cool Assassin 3. I don't know why they put GamerStorm branding all over it, but it is very big. It has two 140mm fans. The only downside to this is if your case will stick out far enough to fit it in there. And if your RAM will clear the fan, or if your AIO cover on your motherboard will clear the fan. So hopefully I'll get some B-roll of that. And on the AIO side, we have the Corsair iQOO H150i Elite Capellex. I think that's how you pronounce it. This is literally twice the price of the Big Chungus, so if it's anyone's battle to lose, it is definitely this one's. I think that the other half of the price is literally just RGB, which in its defense, it does look quite impressive. For today, we're going to do two tests, one inside of a case, one on an open air test bench, and we'll be using a cheap decibel meter to try to see which one's louder, and then we'll be using Prime 95 to see which one is cooler. For the test bench, we have Benchy with a AMD Ryzen 7 1800X. I believe this is a 105 watt part, but we're going to lock it down at 3.7 gigahertz all-core, and that'll give us a nice even comparison between the two coolers. We're going to start off with the Big Chungus Tower Cooler first. Please peel off label before you use it. We have a video on that. One of the downsides to tower coolers is they make you replace the backplate. Depending on your case design, that can be easy or very difficult. For these tests, we're just going to use the same Deep Cool GamerStorm thermal paste that comes with the Assassin 3 here. One of the most important things you have to remember when using a giant tower cooler like this is RAM clearance and being able to get your RAM in and out. If you've got some crazy looking RAM with really big heat sinks, you might not be able to fit your RAM in there with the tower cooler installed. So, you know, think ahead. The best thing to use with a big tower cooler like this is low profile RAM so that you can install the fan on the RAM side and still be able to get your side panel on. They even give you a second set of these hooks, so if you wanted to add a third fan, you totally could. They give you hooks for a third fan, but they only give you a splitter for two fans. Alright, we are running a 3.7 all-core at 1.35 volts, and we're just gonna smash it with some Prime 95. So you can definitely hear it ramp up. I don't know if you can hear it on my mic, but I can definitely hear it ramp up. We're at 83-ish degrees C. It's like 82.9, which I will round up on that. And decibel meter sitting at about 47 when I'm not talking. I guess that's really only the two numbers that matter is temperature and noise. All right, so for the AIO, we have put all the fans on the radiator. We have the whole convoluted mess of RGB and fan controller wires, pump controller, pump RGB controller. There's a ton going on here. It's kind of crazy. And if you're using this on an AMD CPU, you reuse the factory backplate and latch mechanism. So we'll go ahead and put that back on. The funny thing is say you go and add RGB to the Deep Cool, it ends up being the same price. Say if you wanted like 3 or 2, just say 2 RGB 140 millimeter Corsair fans. It ends up being the same price, so, because they're like, I don't know, $100 worth of fans right there. Not that you couldn't get like some random off-brand DRGB fans. Again, same deep cool thermal paste. Yeah, we're already coming up on that 83°C that the Chungus was at. We're passing it now. I'm just wondering when it's going to start ramping in the fans. I don't know if this controller is supposed to tell it when, or if this USB is supposed to tell it when, or if it even has a temperature sensor on it. Like, I don't know what it's supposed to do as far as controlling these fans. Yeah, right now on the open air test bench, it's getting down to 82.5, and the noise level is about the same. I don't know if given the longer time frame that this will heat up, but it actually heated up and then came back down, so it's not really moving from 82.5. So on an open air test bench, they are, as far as I can tell, exactly the same. Again, this costs twice as much. Let's put it in a case and see what some panels will do to these two coolers. All right, for the case, we're going to be using a pretty standard Cooler Master MB530P. It has a glass front panel with some vents along the sides. It comes with 4 fans, so we're going to be trying to use all of 4 fans, but with the Corsair, there's only 2 fans on the top and 1 on the back. So with the Corsair, we're just going to be using the 3 fans that come on the Corsair, and then the 3 of the fans that come with this case. So hopefully it's a fair fight, but if you could fit more fans in your case, wouldn't you? Alright, so because I'm using a different motherboard in here, and I'm pretty sure this motherboard dropped 1st gen Ryzen support, we're just going to use a 3950X. It also is a 105 watt TDP part, and it has, you know, half the transistor length, so I don't know which one is easier to do. I want to say that the Chungus is easier, but I just have more familiarity with it. Yeah. I mean, obviously the Chungus doesn't have this convoluted mess of wires. So yeah, fun fact, if you try to run small FFTs on Prime 95 with the 3950X, it will crash. Does not matter what kind of cooling solution you have. Heat load too much. You can, however, start off on smallest FFTs and then switch it over to small FFTs, and then it usually won't just crash. Okay, so the AIO running out of the box with a 3950X, it's sitting at 59 degrees C. The decibel meter is reading about 51, and it's running at pretty much 3.4 gigahertz all-core, and it just can't overclock. Like, if you try overclocking, it just goes straight to like 90 degrees C, which is insane, and I wouldn't recommend running it like that. I think it has something to do with where they place the Zen 2 cores on this CPU, and where the AIO's fin stack is. It's not pulling heat out of those cores efficiently enough. So hopefully the big tower cooler can pull the heat out of those cores. God dang, dense 7 nanometer cores. Alright, so we managed to squeeze the gigantic tower cooler inside of this case. I hope I should try to show you it. It's definitely in there. It's very tight, like maybe a millimeter of clearance, but fits in the case. I went ahead and moved the fans from the top and back area here to the front, and I put the case fan that came with this case back in the back for the exit. So overall, this has the exact same amount of fans that I had with the AIO. Granted, 2 of the fans are inside of the case blowing through the cooler, so see if it makes a difference. Obviously, it's going to try to regulate at that 60 degrees mark. So it's hovering around that 3.4, but slightly higher 3.4. Like before, with the AIO, it was running at 3.39 or 3.38-ish. This one's above 3.4. So very, very small gain there, but for the same temperature, I think that's pretty good. The same temperature and half the price, doing pretty good so far. Let's go ahead and put in an overclock. We'll regulate, we'll noise regulate to 51 decibels because right now it was running at like 48. Just gonna set the core ratio to 37 and then set the voltage to 1.3. Go ahead and run small FFTs and see if it crashes. Oh boy. She's spinning up now. 90 degrees. Come on, can you stay below 90? Can you stay below 100 degrees is really the question here. Man, I don't feel like this fan at the back is doing anything but just getting like the fast wind coming out of the cooler. Like,
I just try to slow the air down. No.
I'd take the fan out to be less of a restriction. Holy crap. Oh man, it's getting up there. 98. Well, so I'm guessing it's just going to be marginally better. Like, very marginally better at half the price. I think the key here is this is quieter in a case. For the same temperatures, this is quieter in a case at half the price. Yeah. And we already knew that, but this is coil wine. We haven't done it yet, so this is the coil wine version of that same video that everybody else has made. Clearly, if you try overclocking and running a super heavy load, then 3950X gets really hot, but any CPU with an overclock gets really hot. And if you're comparing a giant AIO like this one to a giant tower cooler like the one inside of here, at the end of the day, they are pretty much the same. And one just costs a whole bunch more and is a little bit louder inside of a case and has pretty shiny RGB lights. So there's more wires with the AIO.
Can I put RGB on the Chungus?
Yes, you can put RGB on your Chungus, but then it will cost probably the same as the AIO if you're using the same Corsair fans as the AIO. So
Quiet.
Yeah, it's quiet, especially at idle. It's super quiet. And they have adapters to make it even quieter. So who knows? Probably they're just like the same, like just price difference and complexity and chances of failure. Because I mean, you have a fan go out on this, it runs a little hotter. You put a new fan in it off of eBay or one that you had in a different case, and it will work exactly the same. So you really can't hate on the giant cooler, aside from if you're using a small case, I guess. But then if you're using a small case, you can't fit a 360 millimeter AIO. So we're running into the same problems here. This is Coil Wine, and if you're not subscribed, get subscribed. If you want to yell at me about how I did this all wrong, leave a comment, and if you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't like it, dislike it, and have a great day. This is how I'm leaving it. I'm leaving it with the Chungus in here. Go watch other Coil Wine videos.